because she was out of control. My dad had been molesting me.
The key issue of exhibiting insight, full insight into their crimes, and completely accepting responsibility for their actions. This is where the Menendezes, like Sirhan, also fall short.
You have Mr. Hockman taking positions and doing press stunts.
Eric and Lau Menendez will have to wait a little longer to see if they will walk free. The convicted siblings' resentencing hearing postponed yet again. Plus, their defense team wants the new district attorney off the case. Plus, courties can't seem to get enough of Cult Mom. We're talking about the key moments that stand out in her homicide trial. Plus, also this hour, Mama Donna Adelson wants the judge off of presiding her upcoming trial. We're talking about the brand new motion brought up in Florida this week. And police have identified a suspect in the deadly shooting at Florida State University. We are being a voice for victims this morning. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Friday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. We have a tremendous show planned for you, so let's get right to it. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. To everyone affected by Thursday's mass shooting at Florida State University, we here on Opening Statements are sending you our love, our light, our prayers, and our healing wishes. You know, when we started planning this morning's show yesterday, the shooting hadn't happened yet, but we were already planning to honor one distinguished member of the Florida State University community, longtime law professor Danny Markell. As you know, it's important to me to be a voice for victims like Danny Markell. Little did my colleagues and I know that this morning we would be talking about other victims in the FSU community. While we don't know all the facts yet, we know there is a defendant who will be prosecuted, and we intend to follow the quest for justice every step of the way. And my friends, I'll close with something that I've said before about mass shootings, and I'll say it again. I think we need to amend our Constitution to change the rights that are afforded to people who commit these crimes. I see them as acts of terrorism. I think these shooters should be legally treated as terrorists and not afforded the same rights as others in America who find themselves in our criminal justice system. To me, they should go straight to Guantanamo and be punished there. May God bless the families of those killed and those injured, and may the perpetrator receive the harshest penalty that Florida law allows. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. We're going to be talking more about this case coming up at 9 o'clock when Court TV Live begins. Right now, I want to give you your daily docket.
Mr. Craster held BDSM sex parties at his residence, and she said participation was mandatory unless you were at work. And you weren't allowed to turn down any kind of sexual intercourse.
In Wisconsin, we have got Austin Chronister with a bail hearing today. This defendant is accused of holding women captive as his sex slaves for years inside of his home. The hearing is going to start up at 9 a.m. Eastern, and we will take you live there. Also in Wisconsin, defendant Maxwell Anderson has a final pretrial hearing at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. This guy's accused of killing and dismembering Sade Robinson. So we'll follow that hearing for you. And in Colorado, a new trial we're tracking at Court TV. The Colorado rock throwing case with defendant Joseph Koenig. He is one of 3 men accused of throwing rocks at several cars, killing 20-year-old Alexa Bartel. That case starts up at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Now, we turn to our top story this morning. The Menendez brothers are going to have to wait a few more weeks for a possible release as the resentencing hearing has once again been delayed. May 9th now is the new date for Eric and Lyle's bid for freedom. There are 2 big issues that are set to be tackled during that new hearing date. One, the admissibility of the brothers' risk assessment evaluation. And number 2, whether LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman should be removed from the case. Hearings will be paused until those issues are settled next month. Now, it was a fiery day in court. Attorney Mark Garagos, who's representing the brothers, spoke out very directly against the new district attorney, Nathan Hochman, criticizing very harshly his stance against Garagos' clients, Eric and Lyle Menendez, and their potential release. Take a look.
Mr. Hochman taking positions and doing press stunts that, in my humble opinion, not only violate his duty to the law, but violate his duty to the state of California, the county of Los Angeles.
Now, Hochman had this to say after court concluded on the completed risk assessment. Quote, "We believed it constituted additional facts that the court should consider in deciding whether or not the Menendez brothers do pose a risk of danger to society." All right, so what could those additional risk assessment details be? And is it proper to ask for DA Hochman to recuse himself? Let's talk about it. I want to bring in our legal eagles now. So happy to have on the show with me criminal defense attorneys and former prosecutors Joe Tamburino and David Bruno. All right, let's tackle these one by one. First, I want to start with the issue with Mark Garagos. I was kind of stunned that he is criticizing Nathan Hochman so harshly to the point where he's saying you should be removed from the case. Joe Tamburino, what do you think about that?
Good morning, Julie. Thanks for having me on. It's never going to work. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I want a prosecutor removed because he's doing his job by trying to prosecute the defendants. It's ridiculous. Mr. Garagos obviously is grandstanding. He's trying to gin up support for his clients, and there's no way Hochman's going to be removed. He was rightfully elected. He is the district attorney of Los Angeles. He's doing everything proper. He reviewed the case. There is nothing that he's done that is unethical or rises to such a degree where a judge would remove him. It's just not going to happen.
Joe, I agree with you. David Bruno, let me ask you about this other issue of this risk assessment that was ordered by Governor Newsom, because we know there are 3 different ways these brothers are trying to break free from prison, and one of them is clemency. And so the governor ordered this, and this is something the parole board would consider if the judge would decide that they are eligible for resentencing and do so. The defense doesn't want it in. The state does. The state is saying whatever the findings are relevant here. What do you think, and how do you think the court should come down, David?
Yeah, great move by Hochman. I mean, first of all, nobody knows what's in that report except Hochman and his team. Looks like maybe it's probably beneficial to the government in their application to fight this resentencing. But what happened was, because Newsom ordered this clemency review, the California Parole Board started this comprehensive risk assessment, which is relevant to their decision whether or not they pose a risk to the public. That is the same issue that is relevant in the resentencing hearing. There's really 2 things: whether the rehabilitation and whether they pose a risk, and then the psychological trauma around the time of the crimes. So with that being said, this comprehensive risk assessment will go to one of the 2 important factors that this resentencing judge has to determine. So Hochman and his team come in and say, there's more evidence. You have to look at the comprehensive facts and circumstances, which include this new report. And it looks like the court halted yesterday and is going to really consider whether or not that should be reviewed.
Right. David, great point, because the judge has to consider whether they're a danger to the community. And if, like you said, if there's been this assessment that's been done in such great detail, then what better to look at? You know, we don't want the judge to guess, right, what these guys might do if they get out. Our producers put together a look at what's ahead for the Menendez brothers. So let's take a look at what's coming up in the next few weeks. Garagos told the media he plans to file that recusal motion, trying to get the LA County DA disqualified. Then the next hearing is May the 9th. Mark your calendars, my friends. And this hearing is going to be partially closed due to a psychological report that's going to be apparently released within this hearing. So that's kind of interesting. The doors will be shut at one point during the next hearing. I think bottom line, everybody wants to know, what are the chances these guys are getting out? So I would love for you both to weigh in on that. Joe Tamburino, what do you say?
Zero chance. I mean, you know, everything's against them, as it should be. They're going to be held in the prison. They're not going to get out. And the other thing was, you know, I don't know why they even asked for clemency for Governor Newsom. Newsom is not going to give them clemency. I mean, this guy is likely going to run for president in 2028. And the last thing he would want is the albatross around his neck of releasing the Menendez brothers. That was just a silly move. They should never have done that.
Great point, Joe. Great point. You know, Gavin Newsom, I mean, that's a whole nother discussion, right? You know, he's podcasting about it. So he's got his personal podcast, but he's talking about the official state business of the Menendezes on that podcast, as we know. David Bruno, what do you say the chances these two are getting out? I'm sure people love to ask you that question. What do you think?
I think there's a small chance that they get out. And the reason is because D.A. Hodgman, when he came in and reviewed all of the evidence, he filed to withdraw the motion because he disagreed with the prior DA. At that point, the judge could have went along with Hodgman's motion to withdraw. However, because the court had its own authority to file for the resentencing, he kept it alive. So with that being said, the judge who is going to make the decision already had the option to terminate this motion with the initial withdrawal motion. So with that being said, yesterday's delay is good for the DA because it sounds like that risk assessment may be helpful to the DA's arguments.
Right, David, sure does. We'll see what happens with these two. And I think we can't say it enough. You know, a reminder that at the center of this are their parents that they brutally murdered and shot multiple times and planned it all for the money because Dad was going to cut them out of the will. It's terrible. And so we certainly haven't lost sight of that. And we'll keep an eye on Eric and Lyle Menendez. In the meantime, we have to turn to some other big cases. Joe Tamburino, David Bruno, I'm so glad you both are here. Stand by, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's next.
Did you see with your eyes, or hear with your ears, or personally witness me conspire with my brother, Alex Cox, to murder my husband, Charles Vallow?
No.
And she's asking that question of her other brother, Adam Cox. Counselor Kaltbaum is finished with her questioning. So we think. Closing arguments are tentatively slated for Monday. Has the state proven its case against her? We'll discuss. And Mama Donna Adelson trying to give her judge the boot. We're breaking down the new motions filed this week.
Biggest trials of the year are here on Court TV. Live in the Arizona courtroom as convicted cult mom killer Lori Daybell represents herself.
She wanted to have her day in court, so here we are.
And in Massachusetts as Karen Reed faces a jury again.
She's not afraid to take the stand.
The trials everyone is talking about.
Do you wish that you could clarify?
They'll be clarified one day, Matt.
Are all on Court TV.
Tiff, so you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you. He was under the impression you were having an affair, so him moving on was a natural effect from that.
He told you that?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And then you had no contact with Charles after that, correct?
Well, he was dead, so clearly I didn't have contact with him.
Now for what's trending in true crime, Lori Vallow Daybell getting ready for closing arguments as her fiery back and forths with witnesses seems to have wrapped up. On Thursday, she told the court she expects to rest her case on Monday in front of the jury.
Is it still your intention to not put on any evidence?
Right now, Your Honor, yes. As of this morning, I mean.
Well, do you anticipate that changing?
No.
She's accused of conspiring to murder her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, with her brother, Alex Cox, who's now deceased. He said at the time it was self-defense, and for a time, law enforcement believed that. But then we know a lot more happened with Cult Mom, and the case was re-examined, and fortunately it was. And now here we are. She's got 3 homicide convictions already. Will she get a 4th? Has the prosecution done enough to convict her? Let's talk about that. I want to pose that question to our tremendous power panel. Still with me, attorneys Joe Tamburino and David Bruno, and want to welcome in law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter. Sonny, let me begin with you. Has the state proved its case?
Good morning, Julie, and to my amazing panel and colleagues here. I think the state did what they needed to do, and I think Lori did not do herself justice by trying to serve as her own attorney. I think it would have been a harder reach had she had the benefit of an experienced counsel, but I do think that they pulled it together in the end, that there was enough to show that she committed this conspiracy. And here we go, number 4.
Right, Sonny. Sonny, I love that point that, you know, had she had a great attorney representing her, we might be having a very different conversation. She should have called Joe Tamburino or David Bruno is who she should have called. Those guys would have gotten it done. Yeah. Let's talk about that. I'm sure, you know, David, let me start with you. When you watch a case like this, you probably think of all the great things you could do for a client like this.
No, I agree. If she had competent counsel, I think it would have gone differently, because the prosecutor has to prove 2 things. Number 1, that it wasn't self-defense and that it was murder, because murder is the only predicate that works with the conspiracy that she's charged with. And then after proving the murder, they have to prove that there's a conspiracy, meaning an agreement between Lori and the perpetrator. So right there, they have 2 things to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And because Lori was on her feet, I mean, she showed emotion. She did not know the rules of evidence. I was on earlier with Mike Ayala, and we were talking about the prosecutor's questioning, basically cross-examination questions without objections. There were a lot of things that could have been different with competent counsel.
Right, David. Yeah, I mean, there were times where I didn't agree with the prosecutor's objections. I didn't agree with the judge's rulings, you know, and this is, look, I mean, I'm no fan of cult moms. I'm just calling the balls and strikes. So to your point, yeah. Joe, your thoughts on this? How different would this be if she had you?
It'd be wildly different, but that would never have happened because she's doing this for entertainment. I mean, I remember when I was a public defender years ago, and I had some clients in prison, and they would love to come to court appearances. Why? Because they were sitting in prison and they would like to come back to district court, change of scenery. They'd be in the courtroom. We'd have hearings. They get to talk to different attorneys. It's something to break up the extreme monotony of prison. Plus, let's face it, she likes being in the spotlight. She always has, and this is just one big game. So yes, she should have competent counsel, but there's no way she would have done that. She is enjoying this.
You're so right, Joe. She could have the greatest dream team, and she would pass because it would take time away from her being on the mic and being the star of the show. Yeah, you're spot on, my friend. So let's talk about that. You know, as much as she loves the limelight and as much as people are disgusted by her, disapprove of everything she's done, you know, want justice for Charles, just like everybody wanted justice for JJ, Tylee, and Tammy, it seems it's like we can't look away. We just can't get enough of her sometimes. You know, right before Charles was killed, her whereabouts became a big talking point online, and something that just kind of caused many courties, you know, to go down the rabbit hole, you know, was this trip through the Burger King drive-thru that morning. So her husband is being killed. She is at Burger King, and Lori asked about it when she was crossing one of the detectives in her case. Let's go back and watch.
During this investigation, did you verify that we did in fact go through Burger King?
I did not, but it was verified.
Were you aware of what we ordered at Burger King?
You told me it was chicken fries and Sprite.
Had you seen You hadn't seen that receipt?
I had not.
The jury also got to see caught mom going to Walmart, buying some new flip-flops right before the shooting occurred. And our courties are talking about her appearance in court. Of course, myself included in the Courtie family. Every day we're looking at her hair, people wondering, how did she get those highlights, the curls, all of it, the makeup? So what is it about Lori Daybell? That is our next question in our trending segment this morning. What is it about the cult mom? Sunny, back to you.
Well, she is beautiful. You have to admit, she is a strikingly beautiful woman, but she is also very self-consumed. You get all of that in her questions and what she was doing. And it's just fascinating that she could go from beauty queen to balling out murderer, and of her own children. It is, for all the beauty that she has, she is just really a horrific person. And I can't take my eyes off her because I'm like, she really believes in herself. And, you know, she's kind of got us believing that she's crazy, but she is actually not crazy. She is very calculating. So
you're right,
that's
Sunny.
what I'm watching.
Not crazy, calculated. I love what you said about her going from beauty queen to balling out murder. It's so true. It's so true. She was in the Mrs. Texas pageant. For anybody who didn't know it, look, Google it. There's a video out there somewhere of her. She looks great. And now here she is. And by the way, we found out that the commissary at this prison in Arizona where she's being held sells hair dye. So she can buy her hair. They also sell makeup there. So she's able to purchase those products, and she sleeps with wet towels, we found out, to get those curls. She was a hairdresser too prior to becoming a criminal, so there's that. David, Bruno, let me go back to you. What do you think it is about this woman where people just can't look away?
Look, I don't think it's just her. I mean, throw Luigi Mangione to that list and Karen Reed. I mean, this criminal justice system is so interesting to start. I mean, this is Court TV, and for everybody watching, we all enjoy watching the trials and the drama in the courtroom and all the things that unfold from these cases that we're following. And she's like a star. She's a star in the movie, and that's why everybody's so interested. And when things roll out, like the drive-through order or the curls and the highlights, it's something that we're all interested in.
I know. I believe I went down the rabbit hole, that Burger King order. Joe, I was on Twitter too. I'm going, what a nutritious breakfast to get your kid. Chicken fries and a Sprite for breakfast as he's headed off to school. What do you think, Joe? What is it about this lady?
Well, it's the Black Widow effect, and couple that with the cult. I mean, you know, people are attracted in terms of a media sensation, the Black Widow effect. You have a woman who kills her ex-partners, you've got sex involved with it, and then you throw on top of that a good-looking person, and you throw on top of that the whole issue of a cult. I mean, we're fascinated in society with cults. Look how much we talk about things like Scientology and all these other types of organizations. So yeah, you put all that together, sure, it's made for TV.
Joe, I love that, the Black Widow effect. You are right. Great analysis from you all. We'll leave it there for now. We'll continue talking about the cult mom still to come here on Opening Statements.
This is Adelson. How you doing? Just want to give you this.
Can I ask you, is someone blackmailing you? No, it's always a possibility.
I said to Harvey, I swear to God, our family was cursed.
When did they issue a warrant?
One moment, Miss Adelson. Please keep your comments to yourself.
Well, defendant Donna Adelson wants a new judge for her upcoming homicide trial. We'll talk about it. Plus, a major deadline looming for defendant Karen Reed's attorneys. This is on their crash reconstruction experts. That's later in the show. Welcome back. This morning, we're giving a voice to victims like Florida State law professor Danny Markell, as his former mother-in-law is preparing to go to trial accused in his murder. Defendant Donna Adelson's latest move is to try to get a new judge. Adelson's defense team filed a motion requesting that the Honorable Stephen Everett recuse himself, which was denied. And then the defense filed an amended motion, and it was once again denied. It's sealed, so we can't look at it, unfortunately, but we do know that Judge Everett is a no-nonsense judge.
Anyone who is acting inappropriately will be removed from the trial. If this even goes to the issue of contempt and trying to influence the jury in an improper way, believe me, I have no problem having them break out the handcuffs. You can ask around.
That's why he's the judge. Now, Judge Everett was also the judge assigned to the trial of Donna's son, Charlie. That makes sense administratively in court systems, because this is the same case facts, essentially. Now, Charlie, you recall, was convicted in the murder of his former brother-in-law, Danny Markell. The victim in this case, Donna Adelson's trial for the same murder coming up next. And Wendy, who is Donna's daughter, Charlie's sister, stood to benefit the most from this horrible plot. She has not been charged to date. She was married to Danny Markell. Now, let's talk about this some more. I'm going to bring in our resident expert on the case, Court TV digital content producer. You enjoy the great articles she writes every day. Our friend Lauren Silver's back on opening statements, and with her, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor David Bruno. Okay, Lauren, good morning. We want to start with you here first. These sealed motions, you see everything new that comes on that docket. You see it before anybody does. It's hard to know, but help us out a little bit. Kind of give us the context around what's sealed, what's not, and any insight you have as to what might be contained there, please.
So in Florida, most things are considered to be open. So I was honestly surprised to see a sealed motion on the docket. Leon County in Florida, obviously, usually very open. Lots of documents are open in her case. This one is sealed. Both the initial motion and the amended motion were sealed. The denial looks like a straight denial. There was no written order that is unsealed. But this does come off the heels of a lot of, we'll say, losses for motions for Donna in court. Her attorneys were trying to suppress a motion regarding her daughter's book. She doesn't want Wendy's book coming into evidence. That was denied. A motion to suppress jail calls with Charlie, also denied. Her motion for bond, denied. So I suspect she's getting frustrated. But as you said, Judge Stephen Everett is no nonsense. He is calm. He is even-keeled and very in control of that courtroom. So I would have been surprised to see a recusal.
Lauren, this is such great insight you're sharing with us. All of Donna's denials, all the denials that she's gotten. Maybe this is just building up and she's mad. I have a clip of one of those denials when she was complaining about her treatment in the jail, asking for bond. Let's watch.
I was assaulted by another inmate while I was here at the beginning of October.
October 2024?
Yes.
And when you say here, do you mean the Leon County Jail?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Since you began experiencing that pain, since October of 2024, have you requested medical treatment?
Yes.
And what has the response been?
They said they would take an x-ray, but in the meantime, I could have Tylenol.
And Lauren, remind us, is she still in the same facility?
Yes, she is. She was denied that motion for bond despite her alleged assaults, medical problems, which include, I believe, sciatica, some back pain, and small ear canals and an earwax buildup. But those were not enough to get her out.
That's right. I remember her saying that she's, needs her earwax removed. Can they give her a little bit of rubbing alcohol for that? Doesn't that help? David Bruno, let me go to you next, please. To go so far as to ask for the judge to be removed, that's a bold move, as you know.
It is.
Especially if the judge stays on your case, right? What do you think about this?
Absolutely. You know, and listen, all those decisions were rationally made. I mean, on the issue of bond, she was caught fleeing the country at the time of her arrest. The suppression motion on the jail calls, she's told this is a recorded line. On the book, relevance as to motive. I mean, these are all rational decisions. And this is the MO of any defendant, Julie. And that is once those decisions start rolling against them, they want the judge out. Let's get him out. How do we get the judge out? And to your point, when you file that motion, and I've had this conversation with many clients since leaving the prosecutor's office, you better win. You better hit. You better have a legitimate reason to file that recusal, because if you lose, you are stuck with the same judge.
Right. You're so right, David. That is a motion you don't want to make unless you can win. And here, they might just be making Judge Everett mad. What a great judge he's been. I mean, we've seen him in action presiding over Charlie's trial, and we pulled one of our favorite moments from him. Take a look at this.
That trial period would have been June the 16th to July the 2nd. Not sure if Your Honor would be able to make that available to us, but that's when we all were available to try the case.
I would need to check my personal calendar because we all answer to someone and I answer to Mrs. Everett.
Yes, sir.
Whether or not I'm available the first week of July, I cannot tell you at the moment, but I will check.
So as strong and tough and bright as this judge is, Mrs. Everett is the boss, not the guy wearing the black robe with the gavel. Oh, Lauren Silver, how about it, that moment? That was one, it got people talking, didn't it?
Absolutely. And Donna herself has gotten people talking. At the last few hearings, she's testified, she's taken the stand, doesn't want to stay quiet. But Judge Everett, yes, very much in control, and he did remove her previous attorneys who had also represented her son. So I suspect she's also a little sore about that still as well.
Ooh, thank you for that, Lauren. Thank you for that reminder. Right, that was like, I mean, anybody could have seen that conflict coming, right? David Bruno, I mean, like, that to me, was just incredible how her lawyer, acted like, I can just keep on going here. No, like, how's this gonna happen when Charlie comes in to testify? David, what do you think about that lawyer? I mean, it's almost like he did Donna a disservice by wasting all that time taking the case. This is more time she's behind bars, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the change. I am in a substitution right now where we're just getting a massive amount of information. It's so difficult to get up to speed, especially when there's been years of litigation and discovery exchanges and just understanding really the exchange of discovery and the mountain and bait stamp system and electronic evidence, with all the electronic evidence nowadays too. So with that being said, that transfer definitely took time. It took sweat equity of the attorneys and also a delay when Donna's detained.
Right, David. Yeah, that attorney, I believe his name was Daniel Rashbaum, who represented Charlie and wanted to represent Donna. And great decision by Judge Everett, saying this conflict cannot happen in the courtroom here. So now she's got her new lawyers. They're trying to get the judge to recuse himself. Lauren Silver, tell me, looking at the docket, does it look like there's a firm trial date to you?
Yes, so the trial initially scheduled for September 2024. Obviously, that was delayed with the change of lawyers. The trial is now scheduled to begin on June 3rd with jury selection, aiming for opening statements around June 9th. Of course, that could be delayed again. The next hearing is set for May as a status update.
Oh boy, this is coming up soon. Let's see if they stick to that date. We'll mark our calendars. Lauren Silver, thank you so much. And David Bruno, big thanks to you as well. I need to let you get off to court. And Lauren, we'll have you back soon to talk more about this case and all the others. Thanks so much. Now, my friends, before we head to break, we want to show you something. We want to just take a moment on this Friday morning to remember the person that this case is about. Professor Danny Markell. longtime professor at Florida State University, a father of 2 young, beautiful boys. He was only 41 years old at the time that he was murdered. We're thinking about him and sending love and light and prayers to his family as the quest for complete justice for him continues. We'll be right back.
Lori Daybell.
Already convicted for the murders of her children.
Doomsday cult mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself.
On charges of conspiring to murder her 4th husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
She really thinks she's equipped to try this case.
She appears very sure of herself.
I have real trial experience.
It's going to be a strange trial. We'll see how it plays out.
The Cult Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage continues Monday morning on Court TV.
Welcome back to Opening Statements. Come to your television set and look at this video. See that? It says, John O'Keefe, remember him. He is the 16-year veteran of the Boston Police Department who was killed back in January of 2022, allegedly by his girlfriend, Karen Reed. And as we're getting ready for Karen Reed to go on trial again, close friends of John O'Keefe have come together, raised money just among themselves. They didn't crowdfund with the public, but just among themselves. And they quietly had 4 billboards to honor him erected around the greater Boston area, making sure that he is the center of this case, something that's been forgotten about with what has turned into quite a circus. So now the trial is set to begin on Tuesday with the opening statements. And there are still some outstanding things that need to happen. I want to turn to that now. I want to turn to one of the biggest rulings just yesterday by the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, and it pertains to the defense's ARCA witnesses. You'll remember that's all relating to the people they brought in to opine on the alleged accident. And these experts had been brought in and hired by the federal government to do their inquiry. And Karen Reed's attorneys also paid them to give their expert testimony in this case. Now, there's nothing wrong with payment for experts, but you need to disclose that. And as you recall, there was a problem. They didn't disclose that. They told the court and everyone that they were independent, unpaid, and that was simply not true.
This is the very issue I've been concerned about since the beginning of this case. And I've made every effort to alert the court that I had a concern, in fact, that I anticipated this very thing would happen. My first analysis was of the past history of this case and dropping experts and information during trial. We had ARCA witnesses where I still do not believe we have had full disclosure.
Oh, yeah, so this was from the other day. So backing up, we know the defense team, they can still be in big trouble with their law licenses over what happened with that information that they deliberately withheld from the court. But now, even after that whole mess, apparently they haven't turned over to the Commonwealth their discovery, their expert reports. And the rules say you have to turn it over. They've been ordered by the judge to do that previously. And that clip we just saw, that was from the other day when Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan spoke up and said he had every concern in the world that this was going to happen, and it has. So the judge issued an order that these defense attorneys have until 5 o'clock today to meet that discovery deadline. So why the delay, especially after that debacle? And what's going to happen when these witnesses are called and things can be brought out about how they weren't independent before and said they were? Let's talk about that. Let me bring back in Sonny Slaughter and Joe Tamburino. Joe, let me begin with you here. How bad is this in terms of rule violations when you don't comply with discovery deadlines?
It's huge, and this is totally the defense's fault. I mean, when you get to an expert or any witness If you're going to use them, or if you plan on using them, you have to disclose the information. It's like what we say in politics. The cover-up is worse than the crime. You don't cover it up, because if you do, as you just said, Julie, you're going to get in trouble with your law license. And Judge Cannoni's order in this case, I mean, when you look at it, it's powerful. I mean, it says not only does the defense has to make these disclosures by a certain date, but they have to turn over everything, every text, email, phone call between anyone on their defense team, including the defendant herself, and anyone with ARCA. I mean, it is broad ranging. And what this really tells you, if you read between the lines, is the judge saying, defense attorneys, I don't trust you. You got to get this done. And if you don't, there's going to be severe consequences.
And Joe, great analysis. Right. You know, last time she questioned it, we heard her in the courtroom saying, so you're telling me these are independent, unpaid witnesses? And they said, yes, yes, yes. And duping the court is what happened. Hank Brennan called it a dupe, and the judge found that it was. So now here we are, and they were great witnesses. We all know they were tremendous. They were, if you ask me, they were the best part of the defense's case. Sonny, you do trial consulting work. Are things going to be tainted this time around, knowing that Brennan can draw out the lies from the previous time?
It will be tainted, surely, because now the public might not see it as tainted, but as an expert, as somebody that has to produce these reports, my integrity as I'm testifying on the stand is going to be tainted from the lens of the law and what I have to do. And not just in this case, this can carry over to other cases. And I don't think people understand that, where you could be subject to a Darvard hearing about what you did in cases. This is critical information. And I'm just shocked that this defense team, as savvy as they are, did not pull it together well.
Right, right. You know, and then you have somebody, I would argue, savvier than all of them on the other side with Hank Brennan, you know, who caught it and is holding their feet to the fire. You know, in the first case, it seemed that those prosecutors were overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed. They were out-lawyered. Now it's like, to use the old expression, there's a new sheriff in town. Joe Tamburino, knowing that Hank Brennan is known for his artful, brilliant cross-examinations, how do you think these defense lawyers are going to address what they did with ARCA, knowing that Brennan's going to be gunning for their experts when it's his turn?
Brennan is going to do a fabulous job on cross-examination. People should wear basically a butcher's apron, because it's going to be flying everywhere. I mean, this gets to the heart of the matter with any witness. The way to eviscerate, totally eviscerate a witness, is by showing bias or prejudice, showing that what they are basing their foundation on, meaning why they're testifying, is not true. I mean, it would just completely obfuscate anything that they're talking about in terms of science, accident reconstruction. Why? Because you're bringing out to the jury that these guys are paid. Not only that, but the defense attorneys lied about, presumably in court, that they were independent witnesses, when in fact you got all these emails, all these texts, all this communication between the defense and the experts. I mean, it's going to be very fun theater and courtroom drama to watch.
Joe, you're so right. You're on fire, my friend. I love that analogy you made of the butcher's apron. Yeah, this is going to be real bad. And, you know, I think one of the saddest things about it is this didn't have to happen. They had great witnesses. They should have just been honest. Be honest. Say, yes, it is perfectly fine to pay your experts. Sonny knows that's how it happens. Nobody's working for free. Nobody expected that. But, you know, hiding the ball, again, they put themselves in this unfortunate position. We've got to leave it there for now. Sonny, I need to let you go. Have a wonderful weekend, my friend. Thank you for all the great analysis.